Welcome to Haunted Hangover Live. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by Manny.
Yes, you are.
We were just, before we went live, we were just pondering and thinking about what horror movies are coming out the rest of 2025. And the list, in my opinion, was looking quite bleak, considering the movie we're going to be talking about.
I don't think it's a bleak list. I just think it's not as plentiful as the last
I
year.
think we were spoiled last year.
Yes, exactly.
Last year we got hit left and right with all kinds of goodness in the
Yeah.
horror front. Yeah, it's bizarre because you just sent me this list and I'm looking through it and it's a couple of sequels, like weird stuff. Like I was joking with you that they just released time of this live. If you're listening to this after the fact in the future, whatever, they just dropped the I Know What You Did Last Summer requel, I guess, is
Mhm.
what you're going to call this. Because what's her name is back?
Yes.
Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prince Jr. So sequel, requel, and it
Mhm.
looks terrible.
I did not watch it. I feel happy I didn't watch it.
I'm very curious what you think when you do eventually watch it. Shoot me a text because I am
It can't
curious.
I don't think it could possibly be worse than part 3.
You know, I never saw that one. That's like
It's
the zombie fisherman, right, or something like that in that one, if I remember
something
correctly.
it's just it screams like 2002 new metal. Like
Yeah, but I don't know.
it has nothing to do with the original
Yeah.
story. It's a whole new thing. It's really really bad.
I mean, I don't know if this one might be a step, like one step. If this was a set
It,
of
it
stairs, it'd be one
it's
step,
one step up.
one step
It's it.
from the looks of it. Maybe it's just a bad trailer. Maybe
There's
they're
short
still,
steps too.
yes, very short steps. Maybe it's just a bad trailer. But I watched it and I was like, woof, what the hell's going on here?
I was never. I mean, I always liked the original.
That's the best.
It,
It's a
yeah,
really small franchise. There's not a lot of
it is.
movies.
Part 2 was decent.
It's
It
fun.
wasn't. It was okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a bad movie. I just part as I said, part 3 was terrible. So when they said they're making a new one and they're bringing back, isn't they bringing back other right? You said who's in it?
Well, Jennifer Love Hewitt is back. The
Yeah.
two surviving members from the first
I
movie, the two cast members, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prince Jr.
mean, I love Jennifer Love Hewitt, but
I mean,
can't save everything.
no, she cannot. I like both of them, but they can't save this. The other two died: Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Felipe or whatever, however you pronounce
Yeah,
his
well,
last name.
Stu from Scream was dead too, but
I know,
apparently he's coming back.
dude. Listen, respectfully, these are just lazy. This is pure laziness at this point. These studios are like, you know what we're gonna do? That's what people want, nostalgia. But like bringing back dead characters, it's literally becoming a parody of itself. It's hilarious. I'm like, all right, guys, whatever. I'm sure people will go see it and spend money on tickets. So yeah, we were kind of running down the list of films coming out the rest of the year, and I was joking with Manny. I was like, I don't think any of them are gonna top Sinners, which is coming in the first half of 2025. So again, I'm like, there really isn't a big tent pole original horror film
Until Dawn looks like it's going to be really
that's
good.
based on a video game. So I
Yeah,
mean like an
okay. You're talking
an original
Well,
kind
I don't
of
know. See, I'm okay. So Until Dawn is based on a video game, but it is not like the video game.
it is and it isn't.
It's no, it's not. There was no time warping, like
Uh,
Groundhog Day-ness to it. It's a bunch of people in a cabin and snow outside. That's pretty much all that it
well,
has.
no, the way from what I could see, because neither one of us has seen the film yet. It comes out this week.
I mean,
Uh,
Peter Stormare is in it just like
yeah, but I think what they're doing is they're using that to like
the,
put the game the fact that you can
that's what I'm
alter
saying.
shit,
It seems like they just kind of, yeah. I mean,
still based on a game regardless.
yeah, it is.
So,
It is. Yes, definitely. It's the same poster too.
I know. I mean, it
You
looks
know,
cool. I'm not shitting
yeah.
on it. I'm just
But like,
like, it
you
looks
know,
like the same. It's a game.
possibly they might use that. You're right. I think you might be right that they're going to use that time warp thing to put the different scenarios that happen in the
Yeah,
game
yeah.
in the movie. Oh,
Listen, I'm
yeah,
sure when we
okay.
see it, we'll jump back on here and talk about it eventually.
You know,
So,
I don't know what
um,
else. What else? We were just looking at the. Like you said, we were just looking at
I
this list. I
mean,
saw a few. I saw a bunch of these already.
I like Black Phone 2 is coming out this year,
Bringing Her
and
Back is cool. Looks good.
yeah,
That's
I
gonna be
guess
good.
the Talk to Me guys. Yeah, that's the
Uh-huh.
Talk to Me
That's
guys.
original.
All
That's
right,
original.
okay, that might be up
You know,
there.
I'll
That
give
might
it
be
that. Clown in a Cornfield is looking okay. I've heard good things.
okay.
I'm seeing Ugly Stepsister tomorrow.
Okay,
I've heard good things about
I've heard
that.
good things about that as well.
You know, I'm just scrolling. What Rosario? I've never heard of this. I just saw the poster today,
Okay,
and that's with David Dastmalchian. So, okay, I don't know what it's about, but I saw the poster and
yeah,
David Dastmalchian. So, all right, I'm right off
it
the bat.
has potential.
Yes, you know. Yeah, we got another Predator, another 28 years later, another Megan, the Toxic Avenger, another Hell House,
Very
Jimmy and Stig,
bizarre.
Jimmy and Stigs.
Oh yeah, I heard,
I
yeah. You talked about that on the show
Yeah,
a while
we did.
back.
I saw that at
Yeah,
Brooklyn Horror Fest. That was a ton of fun. So if that looks like it's coming to theaters, people should definitely watch that.
yeah. I
Uh
remember you mentioning that a few
yeah,
months
that is
back. I think last
it's
year.
that's a trip. That's a mind trip
Yeah, yeah. But
without actual drugs, you know?
I mean, what else is there really?
Silent Night, Deadly Night, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, another Predator, The Running Man. Yeah, there's a lot of sequels and remakes. Another Conjuring.
It's bizarre,
Jason,
but it's a
I
bizarre.
did,
It's a
you know, I
bizarre
didn't.
year. It's a bizarre year, 2025. I think 2026 will be the bigger year for horror and
Quite
original horror.
possible. Quite possible.
But luckily,
But here we
here
are.
we are. Luckily, we've got Sinners,
Yeah.
which I'll be honest, up until maybe the beginning of this year, I didn't know too much about it. I knew it was about a vampire. It was about vampires, and it was directed by Ryan Coogler, which I thought was interesting because he's not a horror guy. He's directed Fruitvale Station,
Black
Creed,
Panther.
and Black Panther 1 and the sequel. So
Mhm.
he's as far from a horror dude as it gets, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that he decided to make this a vampire horror movie in his entire filmography that really stands out. Honestly, so far, and I've seen all those movies that I just mentioned.
Mhm.
Again, not a Marvel guy. I've said it on the show before. Creed is cool. I enjoyed the first Creed movie.
I actually haven't seen any of the Rocky movies past Rocky 5.
Well, there you go. You're missing out. But the
And
Creed
I know
movie.
people who were in them too, like people who were extras and people who worked on them.
I
I've not seen.
mean, the Creed is cool, and like I said, Fruitvale Station is a really good movie. Really depressing. It's a true story. Look it up if you want to know the very bleak backstory with that. So I was, and this is the guy that always uses Michael B. Jordan. That's like his dude. Michael B. Jordan has been in every single one of his feature length films.
And having not seen, and you know what? You renamed all those movies. I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen Black Panther either.
Mm-hmm.
Either one of them. I haven't seen Fruitvale Station. So watching Sinners, I can see why him and Michael B. Jordan are simpatico. I see it.
Yeah, I mean,
They
they
they work well together.
they do work very well together, and for me, it's more so like when I remember when I read about it when they first like announced it, I was like, "Whoa, this guy's making a like a vampire from dusk till dawn type film." That's what I thought, like reading about the kind of plot of
Mhm.
it, starring Michael B. Jordan. Of course, I was excited, and I was like, "This has potential to be the best horror film to come out this year," and so far, I think it's fair to say it has been. We're only in April, and it's. I don't. Again, I think it all goes downhill from here.
I saw Cuckoo in April last year, and I thought that was gonna be my favorite of
Yeah.
last year, and it was. And I don't think this is gonna be, especially based on what we just looked through,
Yes,
the upcoming horror movies. I don't think anything's stopping this.
I agree.
I don't think anything's stopping this. And I think that by the end of this year, people are going to be talking about this the way they did about The Substance, saying this needs to be This is Oscar material.
Yeah.
And if they don't win it, and if they don't, people are going to be saying that about this, just like they did with The Substance.
He's definitely getting nominated for something when it comes to this movie.
Yeah, cinematography
Something.
alone, just the cinematography alone, you got to, oh, come on.
He wrote and directed. I could see them maybe giving him like a writing screenplay, best screenplay nomination or something. I could see that.
Best actor. I think he should, because he did the dual roles, and they were clearly two separate
performances.
Personalities
Yeah. It's two different performances, and we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah, I can see this getting something. I don't know if they'll give it to Michael B. Jordan. It'd be cool, but
I mean nomination.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they'll give it. I don't even know if they'll give him that, but we'll see. I guess. You think so?
You know what? I feel like Toni Collette should have won twice already too. So, and she hasn't even So
that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought Demi Moore should have won last year and she didn't. So yeah, I don't know. You never know with the Oscars and horror performances. But yeah, I was really excited for this, man. I was looking forward to it. I enjoyed it way more than I anticipated. I went into it completely blind, read no reviews. I watched maybe one trailer. So this was like the optimal movie experience. I knew very little about it going in.
I'd seen the trailer a couple times.
Okay.
And it looked horror light. And I was like, okay, it's going to be, it looked like 1930s kind of, southern cotton field setting movie, Mississippi Delta setting. And I felt like, okay, there's going to be probably some like Gangs of New York. I was almost thinking. Like there'd be some type of Gangs of New York thing happening, and some horror elements just kind of move, mixed into it. That's what I was expecting. And I figured I'd watch it. Lindsay was very adamant about going to see it. She was really excited. And I was like, all right, fine, let's go see it. And we had the opportunity last weekend to see it on Thursday. It was because the whole weekend was selling out.
Yeah. It made a lot of money. It made a lot of money this past weekend. So
the theaters by us started playing at like 11 a.m. Thursday. Because the evenings were already sold out. So they just kept adding more screenings. And I was like, it's 2:00 on a Thursday. How many people are going to be there? And there really weren't that many people because, again, kids aren't even out of, well, no, that's funny. Kids were out of school.
It's an R-rated film, though. They're technically not supposed to buy.
Yeah, but you're right. But it was, no, it was spring break.
Was it?
So everybody was home. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody was home last week. It was spring break. So we went to go see it. And like you said, it was way better than I expected. I keep telling everybody, you are not prepared for how good this movie is. You are not prepared for how absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it definitely caught me by surprise. Yeah, both of us, as I'm sure people listening after the fact or whatever live, you can see we were very surprised by this. Even looking at the poster, I'm looking at the poster right now. It is not very spooky. So. No. It is an interesting kind of horror film in that sense, where they're not really they're advertising the horror elements, but focusing on kind of it feels like a big it's not summer, but it feels like a big kind of, it is a big budgeted film, but it's like a big Hollywood,
$90 million film.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. I'm trying to think of like the right way to articulate it.
I think it is a blockbuster.
100%. Yeah.
It is totally a blockbuster film. Along the lines of somewhere in the middle of From Dusk Till Dawn, Tombstone, and Black Snake Moan.
Yes.
It's a Western. It's a horror film. It's almost a musical.
I'm not even saying like what type of movie it is. I'm saying more in the type of like film, the marketing, and like, like you think of like a Steven Spielberg Hollywood summer movie or whatever. Like it kind of has that vibe to it, but with horror. I mean, again, I'm not wording it properly, but it kind of just gave me that vibe, and it came out of nowhere. So for me, it's like, it just feels bigger than what's going to come out later this year, at least in the world of horror. And I get a lot of that has to do with the people involved. But before we go any further, because we're gonna spoil to break down what we love about this movie. Unfortunately, we have to dive into some spoilers, but just in case you want our thoughts, and we never do this, but I challenged Manny at the top here before we go into spoilers to give kind of a very brief, spoiler-free review of Sinners. So Manny, I'm gonna let you start.
Spoiler-free review.
Spoiler, kind of a very brief, spoiler-free. Your thoughts on Sinners, spoiler-free. Sorry.
Like I said, it's oh man, it's incredible. It's just incredible. It's
okay.
It is one of the best
word
movies
review
I've seen in a very long time. It's one of the best movies I've seen in a long time, and I think it's gonna be that way. I saw it today for the second time.
Wow, so you've seen it twice. You saw it on IMAX and in the regular.
No, I haven't seen an IMAX yet.
Oh, okay. I thought you went IMAX. Okay.
No, we saw it in the regular AMC, and then we went to the AMC Prime today. I might go check the IMAX at some point, but there's that 70 millimeter version of it, which is only at like 7 theaters, and it's not in New York. None of those theaters are here. Not even Lincoln. Lincoln Center has the 70 millimeter, but not the 70 millimeter IMAX version.
No.
That where, because apparently there's some sequences where it fills the whole screen.
You can see the bars, like the widescreen bars in certain scenes where that was supposed to be. I noticed it while watching it.
It goes wide, but no, then it gets taller.
Yeah, it gets taller. And I noticed it.
IMAX fills
it opens up. You do see it in a regular theater. It's just you can tell that it's you can see the bars, they disappear, they come back. I've noticed it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. My review, my spoiler-free review is more than one word.
Good. None of us should articulate.
So the way I would describe it is this. There's something familiar about it. I wouldn't say it is the most original concept. It's a very simple vampire film when it comes to that aspect of the movie. The vampires, I would say. They're not reinventing the wheel with the vampire genre, I would say, because there are some yes and no, a little bit, but there's certain elements in it, not the subtext, not any of that, just the action portion, I should say, the humans and vampires, that element of it, that to me, it feels familiar. You mentioned From Dusk Till Dawn. You mentioned Tombstone. These are the same movies, Black Snake Moan. These are the same movies that come to mind. Those are the same movies that came to mind while I was watching, specifically Tombstone and From Dusk Till Dawn. And it does a really good job of mixing. I wouldn't say it's a scary movie. It's not very scary. Not a lot of jump scares. It's not The Conjuring. You're not going to get any of that. Someone asked me, is it scary? I'm like, I'm the wrong guy to ask, but I don't think it's scary. It leans more into the drama, and I wouldn't even say action. There's really just towards the very end. We'll dive into that a little deeper, but it feels familiar. It's got certain elements that you would expect in a vampire film, and I will say it's kind of like a pressure cooker. The first hour and 15 minutes, really calm. There's no smoke. There's no fire. There's no craziness. A lot of great character development. You're really getting to know these people in this town. And then when shit hits the fan, it hits the fan. Like it gets fucking nutty. Not nutty in a good way. Nutty in like a vampire, type of that type of way. But the beginning, you start to really care about these characters and and they're all very likable. No one is really shitty here. Yeah. Minus a couple of characters that are supposed to be shitty, and they're really kind of small roles that kind of play into the overall kind of subtext of the movie. But yeah, I do think it's familiar. That's really what I could say. It's a familiar vampire. It's where it wears its kind of influences on its sleeve, I feel at times, but has a story to tell, great character development, and some good vampire action. Yeah. In the final, I'd say, act of the film. That's my best way of trying to go without slipping and spoiling anything with the movie. Michael B. Jordan's great. Cast is great. You know, like you said before, he plays two roles. I don't think that's a spoiler because the trailers tell you that. You know, they're very different. They have very different personalities. The twins.
Smokestack twins.
Smokestack, yeah, the Smokestack twins.
Smoke and stack.
I believe his name is Miles Catone, who plays their cousin. He is very good in this. He was honestly my favorite part. He's their younger cousin, and I thought Haley Steinfeld was great as sort of the sassy love interest of one of the brothers. It was overall great movie. And I really can't kind of dissect it and give any kind of critiques I do have without spoiling it. So this is the spoiler warning. Spoiler witch.
Spoiler witch.
The spoiler witch has been summoned. So we're going to spoil. We're going to dive into spoilers now. So you've been warned if you don't want to hear about any
spoilers coming.
Spoilers. Hey, listen.
Try not to spoil too much, but
yeah, we'll do our best to not spoil the entire movie, but to really kind of
talk the whole movie,
to get into the weeds, we got to kind of talk about some stuff, you know, and that's why I said, you know what, we'll do our little brief spoiler-free review there at the top, just to kind of get that out of the way. All right, now, Manny, would you like to help me break down what this film's about? It's a pretty. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple.
Simple plot is two brothers two brothers from Mississippi Delta. It's set in 1938 or 1939.
32.
32. That early. Okay.
Yes, I believe. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. The two of them, they went to war. They went to join the army. They fought the Germans, and then they came back. Which is why I thought it was 1939, because they already came. Because I was assuming they came back from World War II already.
It's World War I that they came back from.
So that's why I thought it was later.
That's
what made, because they said they fought the Germans. I was thinking, well, we're in World War II then, you know, even though that would be weird for the year, because technically we weren't part of World War II yet.
No, you're not yet. No.
Okay, so the fact that I was just wrong. Okay, so it's way earlier.
We're here to help each other out. 1932.
Two twin brothers, both played by Michael B. Jordan. They leave for war, and then they become gangsters in Chicago.
Yeah, they work for Al Capone. That's how they got connected.
Or at least that's what the
that's what they say.
That's what the rumor is. That's what the rumor is. Apparently, there's something in the movie that confirms that they do, but I didn't catch it the second time.
Yeah, I've only seen it once. So
yeah. Well, Lynn, I didn't notice it. Lynn heard about it in something that she read, and she looked for it and still didn't see it.
Okay.
But we'll get to that later. So they go, and so now they come back to Mississippi, the two of them. They have a truck full of beer and wine and pocketfuls of cash, and they want to open a juke joint, playing blues and cooking, food for their town. And that's the basic plot.
And then vampires show up.
And then vampires show up. Yes.
And that's where shit hits the fan. There's a lot of little subplots too. Like they have like I mentioned before, they have a younger cousin, and he plays the blues, he plays the guitar, and they want him to play at the juke joint at their hangout spot. They've got another friend of theirs that works in the cotton fields that they want to hire him as a bouncer. They've got another older gentleman,
Delroy Lindo.
I was about to say Delroy Lindo, who plays.
I didn't even know he was in this. When I saw him playing the harmonica, I said, "Wait, I literally said, is that Delroy Lindo?
Delroy Lindo.
Oh, this movie just went up."
I mean, he's the man in everything he's in.
He plays Delta Slim.
Yeah, and he's another blues harmonica player. Who's going to be playing piano as well, who's going to play with the cousin at the juke joint spot. Then, Hailey Steinfeld is, I believe he's Stack's girlfriend. I believe it's Stack, his mistress.
Stack.
Yeah. It's his
and Mary.
Yeah, it's his girlfriend who he kind of had an affair with and sort of left her behind when he went to Chicago. And then Smoke has his girl,
Annie.
Yes, who I didn't catch any of their names, so thank you, Manny. You've seen it twice. I've seen this once.
No, I have a cheat sheet.
Oh, you have a cheat sheet
It's
there.
on a screen over here.
Okay.
Because I wasn't going to remember it either.
Yeah, and she too was left behind, but she had a miscarriage. She was pregnant. They were gonna have a baby. They lost the baby, and he kind of left her in a really vulnerable sort of state. She's also into like not witchcraft. I don't know the proper
Old
term.
world voodoo.
Voodoo, like Creole, like New Orleans style. That's what I thought of. Again, I'm not very
the old religion. That's
yes,
it.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not educated on that side.
No, yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't really
Yeah.
say it, but they don't name it. It's the old world religion that they brought from the old country with them, and that's how they talk about a lot of it. Like they talk about blues, we brought that with us.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And
know?
it also plays into the vampire aspect
Yes.
later on. Why? Like if she wasn't conveniently there, I don't mean that in a bad way, but like if she wasn't there, they wouldn't have known what to do with the vampires when they do show up. So she's sort of there as a plot device to sort of help them battle said vampires.
Yeah.
I do want to, since we're talking about them, the cast itself, again, I said they were all great. The relationships and sort of how it's intertwined, because you've got like the Asian couple that run the general store. They're friends with them, and they get, it's like basically the twins, Smoke and Stack, the Smokestack twins, they come back to town and they gather every one of their friends up to sort of get this place up and running. And I think that's one of the strongest elements is, when you watch a slasher film or you watch any sort of horror film, if you were to eliminate, and that's what I love about Sinners, if you were to eliminate that final 30 minutes or about 30 minutes of the whole film, which has the vampires, this would just be like a drama. It really doesn't. It's a very dramatic movie because you're seeing them like kind of making up, coming back in town, making up with these relationships they left behind with their significant others, these women, family, friends, family, etc. And just how that's developed throughout the whole film. And their younger cousin who's learning the blues, or not learning, he knows the blues. He wants to be a musician, and his father basically is a preacher and tells him, listen, stay here and focus on religion and become a preacher yourself.
Well, the film starts with the voice of Annie. Film starts with the voice of Annie, giving a bit of a preamble of how music is something that's in our soul, and she says music can awaken the ancestors. In it's not the exact words that she uses, but yeah, music awakens our history. Some people though have the music in them so deeply that it awakens evil, that the devil can hear it. And it calls
which is like he's sort of the reason the vampires show up.
Yeah, because that's what his father's been telling him. The preacher is telling him that your music is going to summon the devil. That was a big thing. That was a big thing. Every time honestly, this happens whenever there's a new music revolution, when new styles of music come in. The prevalent fans of the previous version of the style of music do nothing but demonize it. I mean, Elvis was demonized for this sort of thing. When the hippies they were demonized, and people still hate disco to this day. The 80s music, 80s between hair metal and hip hop, that was clearly gonna destroy the world. Then grunge came around, and the hair metal people said, well, this is destroying music. Every time there's a new something that comes along, the previous generation is gonna demonize it, and that's kind of where it's starting here, as just a jump off point, that this blues is bad because it's not godly. It's not. They're not Jesus gospel hymns. It's not gospel.
It plays into even the vampire. The main vampire tells him, like, we want him. We heard his voice. We heard his music, and that's why it leads them to this juke joint
Yeah.
where
The
everyone is.
underlying theme of the
Yeah.
entire movie is
Is
music.
music. Yeah. I mean, there's an
All of
entire sequence where you see music evolve from like
that
blues,
sequence.
guitar, like electric guitar, hip hop, and you see like break dancers and all that stuff. It's an interesting scene. It is an
It
interesting
is
scene.
it is one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen. Like that is the best, I think, representation
Of music.
of music.
Evolution. Yeah.
Yes, of the evolution of music. And honestly, I feel like like the best visual representation I've ever seen of um the history of black music. That one sequence brings all like okay, so just it's the best way that I can describe it. Um you and I, both of us, we're both part Puerto Rican. Are you are you fully 100%?
I'm 100%
100.
Puerto
Okay,
Rican.
I'm only half.
Yeah.
I'm only half. I'm not. I wasn't sure.
Both
I wasn't sure.
parents.
Okay, I'm only half, but I was raised mostly Italian. Okay, wasn't really raised with this Spanish pride
Yeah.
by my father. You know, whatever. Not going to get into that. When I was, I think, 22 or 23, I saw Puya live.
Yeah.
And that was seeing them.
Yeah.
That was the first time in my life that I ever felt proud to be Puerto Rican because of just the pride that they brought to the stage, the music, the sound, the camaraderie, everybody in the crowd. You know, it was the first time I really felt it, you know, and watching this, I feel like that could be said, that feeling that I had is what Ryan Coogler was trying to create in this scene, is to make people feel prideful of their history, and those who never felt it before to feel it for the first time, even those who don't have any connection to it to feel it, because I felt that. I was like, wow, that scene was sheer perfection.
No, yeah,
Absolutely.
the cinematography in that scene was great too. Just the way they shot it with the house on fire and they're all sitting inside of it dancing and performing and stuff. It was a great scene. I get where you're coming from. The whole allegory of it being, you know, the evolution of music and stuff like that. I love how you mentioned Puya. This is the Puya coming straight to you. Forgot about them. Hardcore Puerto Rican band from it's like a new metal band from
I saw them opening for Typo Negative. It was like 2001, 2002.
I've seen them before too. I mean, that's a really good way of putting it, you know, and it's sort of the centerpiece. I feel like that scene happens right in the center of the film, and then that's the turning point for when the vampires show up.
They literally show up there.
Yeah, it's like all kinds of chaos. All kinds of chaos ensues right after that. And that's the strongest thing to me in the movie is like that first, again, I said that first act, building this world, building these characters' relationships, and then dropping them into this desperation because the twins want to make money. It's not coming in. They don't want to go back to like the cotton fields and picking cotton and all that stuff because it is 1932. The KKK is still around. So that's like kind of underline. That's like the other antagonist of the film, I'd say, is the KKK for obvious reasons. It's 1932. And the way, you know, like African Americans are looked at in this point in the U.S. and how, they're like, oh, they're not around anymore, but that's bullshit. They are around. Racism is still around. And it's still the same. It's still Mississippi. It's still like the South.
Which is another level of it too, because the vampire himself is Irish.
Yeah.
And at that time, the Irish were seen the same way.
Which is interesting.
So
what's interesting
like
about that is
marginalized community societies here. You know?
And what's crazy about that is when the vampires start, you know, turning the other characters, because at this point, half the characters are turned into vampires and the other half are in the juke joint place, the building, the house, the shed, when the battle happens with the vampires. And I think they did that on purpose because if you notice the like leader vampire, he's got all races It's all mixed up,
Yeah.
and I think they did that on purpose because
It's
the
very body
vampires.
snatchers.
The,
I think
yeah,
that's the influence of the body snatchers right there, where assimilation is is what is going to save you. You know, like just become one of us, and it's fine. And while that's the promise of a perfect society, that also requires you to forget your past and your history and your heritage and
yeah,
become something new. And that's what the
yeah.
body snatchers were always about.
I mean, they did a really good job with that, especially the scenes
Yes.
where the Irish vampire, he's just like, oh, like join us, and we're all
Mm-hmm.
connected because they're all the vampires are connected to this one vampire. They share each other's memories, and there's a really great scene where he starts to talk to the girl in Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not trying. It's a crazy scene, and she's like, he knows Chinese, he knows what my husband knows because at that point her husband has been turned into a vampire. Um, it's crazy, man. Like that whole sequence at the end where the vampire. Like, there's one scene in the movie I loved, and I love how they brought this kind of old school vampire aspect into a contemporary film, even though it's a period piece, where the vampires they followed every vampire stereotype: garlic, holy water, crosses. That scene, one of my favorite scenes is they have to be invited in.
I love
So I think his name is Cornbread, the bouncer guy.
cornbread.
Yeah, he's the bouncer. He's been turned into a vampire, and he's like, "Come on, guys, let me in." And he's like, "You haven't had to be let in all night. Why do you have to be let in
You've been in
now?"
and out of here all night
All
long.
night
Suddenly you
long.
need an invitation.
Suddenly you need an invitation. So that's a great scene because it's classic vampire lore, and they were able to, it's they didn't go cheesy with it. It could have fallen, in that category where not like Nosferatu, which we covered a few months ago, but like you don't break what's already like what already works. Don't if it's not if it ain't what is it? What's the term? If it ain't
If
fixed,
it's not broke,
if it's
don't
not
fix
broke,
it.
don't fix it. And they were able to use that. It just worked. I don't know. It was weird. I was expecting kind of like we mentioned the Lost Boys in the Desert Island
Yep.
live
So
episode we did recently, and that movie follows a lot of the same kind of tropes you find in a vampire film, and this does too, and it just works because of how simple it is. I was
yeah.
expecting in that one scene when they're all eating garlic was very much reminiscent of The Thing. It just felt like The Thing, like the
Mm-hmm.
infamous scene in The Thing when they're testing,
Totally.
when they're burning the
100%
blood.
the thing.
And that goes to what I said earlier, where the film has, you could just tell from Dusk Till Dawn, The Thing, you mentioned Tombstone. I could think of so many other movies that, and I'm glad you mentioned Black Snake Moan because I didn't even think about that at all. And that's
It's
a great
all
movie. And
all Mississippi Delta,
yeah,
Louisiana blues. Like, oh man, when
that
I walked out of that movie, the first thing I
yeah.
wanted was to buy the soundtrack, and I felt the same way about this. I wanted the soundtrack.
Yeah, it is crazy. That scene was good though. I like that garlic scene. And then when Delroy Lindo he hates the garlic and he's like, I've been drinking too much.
I drank too much.
It's just like he's drunk and has to chew on a whole clove of garlic. That just sounds like a horrible combination.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie is funny. There is a lot of comedy, especially with Delroy Lindo. He's kind of him and Cornbread, I'd say, are sort of
Yeah.
the comedy relief
Yeah.
characters. And it hits certain beats too. Like Delroy, his character sacrifices himself to kind of let the others get away. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of beats that are from that feel like plucked out of another movie. It feels like they were just pulled from there. And I think that was kind of the point.
It wears its like you said, it wears
Yeah.
its influences on its sleeve. It really
Because
does.
for the first 90 minutes, this movie's about almost 2 hours long. For that first 90 minutes, it doesn't even feel like a horror movie. Kind of
Yeah.
does what From Dusk Till Dawn does, where it's like that first hour and some change,
Mhm.
it could be a
And then
completely
and then
different genre.
flips.
Yeah,
And that's why I think like it's honestly the best movie to compare it to is From Dusk Till Dawn.
I do, it was the first thing I
is
said when
so
I left the
I've said it.
theater,
I
which
said
is
it
a
watch. I said to myself, watching this, I'm like, this is Dusk Till Dawn. Like it's a lot of the same beats are there. The two brothers who are escaping from something. They got something with them. They're basically traveling, trying to get away from their past. There's a little bit. We're not going to get too much into that of what they're actually leaving behind.
yeah,
There
that's
there
a
are little
big
bits. Let's not get too
yeah.
into the weeds on it. But it has that thing where these two brothers who are criminals who are leaving this world behind, coming here, trying to start a new life. They basically get to this bar. Here they open a bar, vampires show up. Even like the sequences of how the vampires got into the bar in From Dusk to Dawn is very similar to this.
Yeah, it
There's someone
is.
inside. When the door opens up, the what's his name? Um Williamson.
Oh, Fred Williamson.
Fred Williamson opens
Not
the
Sex
door in his arm.
Machine. I forget
We
his
have
name. I forget his name
yes,
in the movie.
not Sex Machine, yeah.
I forget his name. That character. Yeah.
Yeah, when Fred Williamson turns
Hammer.
around, opens the door, and you see that he's a vampire, you know, it's very similar to this when she yells and "Come on in, you motherfucker!"
Yeah,
And then they open, and then they take the step in, and the doors open wide, and they all come. It's a very, very similar beats. There's someone left behind. They got to run to the back. A lot of the
it
beats
was
are the
interesting
same.
to kind
The
of
brother too. The fight between him and the brother. What did he say in From Dusk Till Dawn? Here is the peace in death that I could not give you in life. In this movie, he looks his brother in the eyes. He says, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you," and he said, "But you did."
And that plays into the ending where
that's what I'm. I'm trying to be somewhat.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the whole thing.
No, but they're there. It's really there, and it's so weird how I haven't seen too many people make the connection between them. They've seen make the connection, but I haven't seen people comparing it as much.
Yeah,
even though it's like an almost oranges to oranges. It's so similar.
It was the first movie that came to mind. The first two things that came to mind were that and that one scene reminded me everyone loves the fucking Thing. So like there's always going to be a Thing homage when you got to test everybody and see if anyone's a vampire, if anyone's not, well, in this case, a vampire, in that case, it's an alien. But yeah, I mean, it's a movie that, we as filmmakers are inspired by older films. This is a good example of a movie that borrows from other filmmakers and does it right, where there's a spin on it, where he took certain concepts. I'm sure Ryan Coogler likes The Lost Boys. He probably likes all those Black Snake Moan and all those type of movies. Yep. And again, those are inspiration. It almost did feel like sort of like Django. I mean, there are parts of it that you can easily...
It has that Tarantino Western feel. It has a Western feel, but not a classic Western.
It doesn't have Tarantino dialogue. It's not that type of movie.
The feel of the storytelling.
Yeah.
It's more of that Tarantino Western style and the Tombstone Western style versus a classic like Eastwood Western.
Yeah.
And it's more modern style of it. It's a Western that doesn't technically qualify as a Western,
Yeah. Like I said, it's sort of like Django. Like Django is a Western, but it's really not a Western at the same time. If you had to get critical, is there anything, or is this a perfect movie in your opinion?
There's only, the one technical thing was, he's playing the two characters. He's playing both. Some of the shots where it's the both of them, I felt like I could almost see the split.
Yeah.
Just the shot. And I'm like, that's so nitpicky.
Did you notice color grading?
What do you mean?
Did you know? Maybe it was just my theater. There were certain scenes that looked different.
It was like that today.
Did you?
Certain scenes looked much darker. Like when they flipped one shot to the other. Like, okay, so when he was at I really noticed it when he was at the grave.
I noticed it when he's at the car with the little girl and he tells her to like watch the car honk the horn.
The scene facing the car looked very dark, but what the opposite shot was
it was weird.
Yeah, but it was not like that in the first theater I saw it in. It looked fine.
You think it's the print or whatever they have?
It's got to be, or whatever.
I'm sure on
whatever
the Blu-ray it won't look like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It has to be just whatever the projector settings are for it.
Yeah, I noticed it like 2 or
Where did
3
you see it in?
times.
What
I
theaters you
saw it at AMC Fresh Meadows.
was it the AMC Prime theater?
No.
The
It was a
regular.
regular.
Oh, okay.
Was it
'Cause
AMC
I
or
saw
Regal?
it-
I think I saw it in Regal. I saw it Regal. Sorry. Not AMC.
Okay.
Regal. We've been going
Okay.
to AMC more, but we actually went to Regal because we wanted to. There was a certain time we wanted to go see it, so
time.
we went at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a regular schmegular theater.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it right away that there were certain scenes. That's more of a technical thing. Only we would notice that. I don't think a normal person would.
I
would
noticed it
notice
when
that.
he was at the grave of the baby, when he was putting the flowers down, facing one
I noticed
way,
it there too.
really dark, and then when it faced back to her, it looked really good. Like suddenly the blacks looked crushed.
Yeah, it was weird. I was
Yeah, it was
shocked
very-
to see it. I
and
was
it
like,
was-
wow.
Yeah, it wasn't like that in the first time I watched it at all. So it has to be just
I
a
mean,
projector thing.
I wouldn't
you
be
know?
surprised if he works on it again before it gets a home video, like streaming.
Well, I mean, they usually do. They
Yeah.
tend to do some sort of a remastering so that
Yeah.
it works better for homes TVs versus projector, because things have to be brighter for the theater so that
Yeah.
it could, you know.
I wouldn't be surprised because I noticed that like just inconsistency in certain
was.
shots. It was weird, but that's
Yeah,
a
I thought that-
technical. That's a technical thing.
Yeah.
For me, and this is just the horror
It was
fan.
one other thing that I can't remember. Maybe
Okay.
you'll jog. I thought of it watching it today. I'm like, if I had 2 complaints, and I can't remember what the other one is. So
My
let's see
two
what yours-
complaints are I wish, and this is just a horror guy in me. I wish the vampires. I know they have one scene early on when he shows up at the house, and then they disappear for 40 minutes or a half hour or something. I just wish there was a little bit more of that leading to the final act, just to kind of better flesh it out. He felt a little one note.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think it's as long apart as you think it is, because it's a little after an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the 1 hour point that the vampires show up at the barn.
Remember, I've
That's
seen
what I'm
this
saying.
one time, so
Yeah,
it's
it's about the 1 hour mark where the vampires show up at the barn. So it's actually been about 10 or 15 minutes since you've seen them in
Yeah.
the first thing. But you did remind me. That was the only other thing, and it's not a complaint. I wish there was more of it. So when we first meet the vampire, he's running through the field and he comes up upon this
he's
house.
getting all burnt, which is a great effect. It reminded me Near Dark. That's another
Yes,
movie that
100% Near Dark.
That's the other movie. When I left,
Yep,
I was
another
like,
Western that's not a Western.
I was like, Ryan Coogler definitely loves Near Dark. Because when I left the theater, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I said the 2 movies this reminds me of, From Dusk Till Dawn and Near Dark, definitely were, and obviously Black Snake Moan and all that other stuff. But I'm talking about the vampire aspect of it. It was just reminded me of those 2 movies. Continue.
Yeah. So he's running through, like you said, in that Near Dark. You don't realize he's a vampire.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
knows this yet, but as we said, spoiler witch was earlier.
Yes.
So you don't realize he's a vampire. Now that you know he's a vampire, it's like, oh, he was burning from the sun, you know? And he shows up at this house of these people, and you find out that they're Klansmen. And he says to them that he was just attacked by a group of Indians. You know, that the natives attacked him, and they said, there's no natives in this area. He says, no, they killed my wife. They tried to rob me, but they didn't get anything. You could have whatever I have left. Just please let me in the house and sit, please help me. And they do let him in. And then a minute later, you see a bunch of natives come up on horses, and I think they even have a little a carriage or some type, and they show up looking for him. And he says he's not who he thinks he is. If he's already in your house, then we need to act. But may God be with you, basically.
Yeah.
And they leave. So the only thing I have is that I wish they had come back later.
Yeah, they kind of vanished.
That's it.
That's what I mean with the whole vampire plot of the film. I feel like there could have been a little bit more to that, and the Native Americans could have easily been
that, especially with the whole subtext of the music. If you had thrown like native war drums into it and the native like rain songs and all, Oh,
I
throw
don't think
that
that's the
because we
vibe
had
he
the
was going
Irish,
for.
but no,
Yeah.
we had the Irish
No,
music
I
and
agree.
that
Yeah.
whole Irish dance sequence. You had in the blues dance sequence, it shifted tone through it, even to the point where it added Asian music into it when we watched the Asian couple dancing,
Yeah.
and there was a kabuki dancer around them, so they added that into the sound of it. The vampires, an Irish vampire, they also sing old Christian gospel, Christian folk music. Now we have the Native Americans that live there. If they had added that one more layer, I mean, it probably would have added another maybe 10 minutes to the movie. But you know something? When I walked out of this the first time, all I could think was that was too short. I want more. I
another
wanted more.
another 30 minutes to this
Dude,
movie.
dude, I felt that way when I watched Midsummer. First time I saw
Yeah.
Midsummer, I said this was great. And then when I heard there was a director's cut that was a half hour longer, I was there. And I
Yeah.
went to see that in the theater.
I
So
agree.
if there
It's
is another cut of this that
I'm sure
adds,
there is.
I'm sure, it's quite possible. But that's my only complaint. I wish that the natives had come back and we had done some level of the native music as well. Because we had so many types of music in there, so many types of heritage music, you know, and this is a very American film. It's American Southeast, American Southwest.
Yeah.
You know, it is an American film of how immigrants and unfortunately slaves were brought here, you know, and they created their own communities here. But the natives were already here. There was already a music that existed here. And I feel that's the only thing that's really missing in this movie is the music that was already America before anybody else got here. That's it. And that's not even a complaint. That's just
Yeah.
I wish there was more.
I mean, that was really my issue with it is again, that plays into everything with the Native Americans, with the vampire, with
Mhm.
the ending. I wish they honed that in a little bit more in the script, because I feel like everyone else is so fleshed out character wise that the vampire and the Native American aspect of it and that entire subplot sort of, they just become the bad guy at a certain point. They're just the vampires that want to eat us, and they're possessing or turning everybody. And that was sort of my only real critique of it, was that it just a little more emphasis, like you said, maybe another 20 minutes would have fixed that, would have rectified that whole problem.
Yeah, I didn't see them as either the bad guys either.
No.
I didn't see that, but that's a long conversation.
Yes.
We will be here all night.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
When
There are so many layers to this movie.
in
That's
a
it. There's so many
no,
layers.
I know, and you're looking at it through that lens, and for me, it's more so just like as an entertaining movie, as if you're just a Joe Schmo, want to go watch a good movie. In your eyes, it's these people trying to fight vampires and entertainment, I guess, you know? So that's what I mean by sort of
Yeah.
adding a little bit more to that. Not the subtext, not the not allegory, what they represent or anything like that, what the film represents. I'm just talking about as entertainment.
That's what I'm there for. And
So am I. So am I. I love that. Listen, all the homages, all the references, I love all that stuff too. You know, and then again, that's why I can't wait to watch this again, because you know, when you watch a movie one time, you can't take it all in. You just kind of remember what you saw in the theater, and then you got to wait 2 months when you could watch it again, unless you go to the theater again like you did. But yeah, it left an impression on me. I was surprised, man. If we're joking, I don't know what else is coming out this year that could top this movie.
I honestly don't think anything's going to top it. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't
think anything can top this.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I also part of me in that same vein. Excuse me. I'm also afraid that Ryan Coogler can't top this. This might be like magnum opus.
This might be his magnum opus. I agree.
This could be. This is so like, I don't think that and I know that there's a lot of people who don't totally agree. I don't think Ari Aster is ever going to make anything better than Midsummer. You know, I think that was it. Especially when you did just like this, you dig into the layers of everything he put into that. I don't think he's ever going to make a film better than that.
I mean, isn't there like this whole controversy that he wants ownership of it in 25 years or something right now?
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
No, it's the deal he made. That's the deal he made.
I think that's the point. This is his baby. This is his baby. I mean,
he said it's because the movie is about the black community taking ownership of
no, of course,
what they create.
Yeah, I read.
So, so he was very adamant about how I need to take ownership of this movie. Like, that's the message I'm telling. So I need to do that as well. And when they shopped the film around, this was what was on the table. He wanted it back in 25 years. He wanted first payout from the minute the first ticket is sold.
He's already making money off of this movie right now.
And there was a couple other things, but that was the deals on the table when he sold it. Like they weren't going to make a deal with anybody if they didn't agree to this. So honestly, the fact that the studios and people are complaining about that deal now,
which is kind of crazy.
It just shows how dishonest they were in the first place. So fuck them. Good for him. I'm glad he got that he got that deal, because he knew that he would get screwed out of this. This is a reason why there's so many remakes in the first place, because there were certain contracts that were done in the 80s and 90s where the IP of a script would return to the original author if the studios don't do something within a certain amount of time. Like how it's a big deal that James Cameron just got Terminator back, because they kept making movies, and then eventually somebody else took over the Terminator films. So the owners of the original script, Cameron now gets it back because they haven't done anything.
It just happened to Clive Barker with Pinhead and Hellraiser.
Exactly.
He just got the rights back. But it took him like 40 years to get that back.
And
so that's kind of crazy.
It was simply because Dimension hadn't done something with it in so long that is it Dimension or whomever did the original films?
Yeah.
That it was far enough away from part 3 that he could finally get the rights back. So Coogler is just ensuring that after 25 years, I get the rights back.
And I do think this is his magnum opus, because if you think about it, he directed Black Panther. He's not owning those movies. He's not going to own Creed. He's not going to, it's.
And he proved he can make $200 billion in the theater. Proved he can pull in $500 million. So it's just like, you know what? If Christopher Nolan wanted this, nobody would question it.
I think
nobody would question.
No, of course
Christopher
not.
Nolan.
No,
every movie he does gonna pull $1 billion.
He owns all his movies too. I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Kubrick owns all his shit.
Yeah.
Why is this such a thing? Because Hollywood found a way to screw directors and creators over for the last 30 years. Yeah. He's taking the ownership back, and I'm fucking glad he did it.
Yeah.
It was just. Same thing when Taylor Swift went and put her thing in the theater. She went around the studios and screwed them. The label wouldn't do what she wanted, so she went around the label and she re-recorded her albums, and now she owns them all.
Yeah, I was reading the article about him getting it back in 25 years, and they were complaining, saying that a lot of other filmmakers, I guess, big filmmakers, that
they're going to start asking.
They're going to start asking for it, and so he's like starting the trend of filmmakers being like, all right, especially if it's an original film, not an IP. Yep. So he's never, like I said, Black Panther, he can't own that. If a filmmaker's directing a Godzilla movie,
it's Marvel.
Yeah, you're basically a director for hire. That's basically you get some creative control here and there for certain things, but for the most part, you're a hired gun. With this movie, he produced it, directed it, wrote it. Yeah. It's his baby. So
a friend of mine just posted something. What was it? She said, what movie was it?
I don't know. He's the only. I know they're talking a lot about him right now because of the studios being kind of upset with him about.
Yeah, but again, that's
still
bullshit.
It's also 25 years.
It's not even that. It's bullshit because they agreed to it in the first place.
Yeah.
That's the point. He wasn't going to sign with them unless they agreed to it.
They did it though.
They're actually upset with it, then they negotiated in bad faith.
Listen, the right now I'm looking on the page. I think it said it made 71 million worldwide, so I'm sure they're happy.
So Men in Black is still not considered profitable. Ed Solomon says all the time he still has not gotten residuals as screenwriter of the film.
Wow.
Men in Black. Duncan Jones says he does not. Says his royalties for directing Source Code and he's never seen those either.
These guys got paid one time, and that was
exactly. That's the point. Source Code made $148 million on a $32 million budget, and the director has not gotten royalties for it yet.
Wow.
That's what Coogler is protecting himself from.
Yeah.
Making sure he gets paid and make sure he gets his movie back. If the studio has a problem with it, fuck you. You signed the deal. Tough shit.
Yeah.
Because that's how they do it to us. 30 Seconds to Mars was stuck in their own.
Wow.
30 Seconds to Mars. Come on. Jared Leto is
of course.
At a point was one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
He was stuck in a record contract where he owed the label $5 million.
Well, that's happened to a lot of musicians and rappers and stuff like that.
But Jared Leto, you're telling me he couldn't, even he got screwed.
Well, that contract was ironclad. They caught him slipping, I guess, when he signed it. So,
you know, he has a documentary out about it.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
It came out 2015. Where is it? It's on Apple TV. That's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist anywhere else because every other movie studio has some connection and some foot into the music industry, so they won't release it. So it sits on Apple TV and that's it.
Well, more power to this guy. Hopefully this changes things, I guess, in Hollywood and more original films like this, because that's what we need.
Fucking amazing. Good.
Hopefully, I'm sure I'm sure this will get him other jobs, and he'll probably work on another movie that he doesn't own.
Oh, he's not going to work again.
Of course.
They can be pissed all they want. They can be mad all they want. This guy makes $100 million films.
Making good movies. What can you do? So
they
far,
want another Black Panther movie. Guess who they're calling?
Listen, I'm not a Marvel big guy like that. I'm not a Marvel guy. I have seen the Black Panther. I've seen them once maybe each. They were not horrible. They were enjoyable, fun movies. Creed is a good time, so and I just hope he keeps, kind of like Jordan Peele, keeps making original shit.
Yeah,
don't go back to superheroes and video game movies and remakes. Continue making original movies, because I think that's really stuff like this, like Sinners, and even Companion. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that came out. And it's original concepts, original films, the Talk to Me people, stuff like that. If that makes money, then there's going to be more of that in Hollywood, especially in horror, where everything's a sequel and a remake, and especially this year, like we joked, there needs to be more of that. And this opens up doors, in my opinion.
I think he should go the Christopher Nolan route.
Yeah.
And start leveraging the movie they want him to make against the movie he wants to make. Jordan Peele's different. He owns the studio. He owns the entire ranch.
Which I'm surprised this guy's not going to do that eventually. He might.
I don't know. But Christopher Nolan hasn't done that yet, But
doesn't he have doesn't his wife produce all of his films, which basically means he owns them? That's Sin Copy or whatever, his production company.
It could be, yeah.
He does. I think he owns all his
name?
shit.
Tyler Perry too owns the.
Oh, he owns everything.
Yeah, he owns that whole thing.
Yeah.
But Christopher Nolan, whenever he wants to make a movie, he goes and shops. That's why he made the Dark Knight movies. That's why he did. Was it Dunkirk? Was his, or was it the 1918?
Dunkirk was his. Yeah.
Yeah, he made those because he wanted to make another film that nobody would fund. Yeah, exactly. He won Tenet and Inception.
Oppenheimer.
Big budget sci-fi films that most studios aren't willing to take a gamble on. So it's here we have a script for a $200 million movie. If you can give us this, he's like, okay, I'll do that if you fund that next, or I have to do that first and then I'll make that, because you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, no, of course.
I think he should totally start leveraging Marvel movies against his own. Even Robert Rodriguez does that. When he wants to make a movie, he goes and does another Spy Kids film.
Yeah, but we got over here in the comments. Hell yeah, just re-listen to the Halloween recap from 2021. Thank you, Joe Blow.
That older one.
It's a while ago. But yeah, closing thoughts on Sinners. I know we went off on a little tangent there talking about Hollywood and ownership of films.
I have tangents within me. They will not be contained.
Manny is the tangent master. They're all going to...
Ranting and raving.
Ranting and raving is what comes out of Manny.
It burns like a bubbling, fiery lava pit.
Man, if you don't let it out, you'll explode. So you got...
Right, that's why I let it out. I don't explode. Let it out.
But yes, final thoughts. Sinners, go watch it. I after seeing the movie and really thinking, and when I got, when you watch a movie like this, you don't know how you feel right away. You're like, it takes a second to sit and you got to think about it. You got to sit, you got to take it in. And luckily you got to see it twice. You got to take it in. You got to really think about it, let it marinate and see how you feel about it. And then it took me a second to be like, all right, how did I feel? And then when I sat on the couch, when I got home after watching, I was like, that was a good movie. That was a great movie. So, it's weird, man. Movies, that's how, when I always say a movie's great when you're thinking about it after the fact. If you forget about it the next day, that's not a good movie.
And you sat through the entire credits all the way to the end.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about them because they sort of spoil the ending of the movie.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to talk about them, but I want anybody who hasn't seen it.
Make sure you stay for the two scenes.
All of them. They're entire like
mid credits, post credit.
There's a mid credit scene which is actually the end of the movie.
Yeah,
that's not even a mid-credit scene. That's the end of the film.
It's an epilogue, basically.
Yeah, my brother went to see it, and he said, he's like, good thing. He said to me, good thing they had that mid-credit scene. He said because when the movie ended, he kind of felt a little like, oh, what's going on? Like I don't know, I don't know how I feel about this. And then he got to that, and he said, okay, now the movie's over, and that was what sealed it. Today there was a couple sitting next to us that as soon as the credits started rolling, they were an older couple. They started getting up and I kind of started feeling bad because
you're like, stay.
Well, they were an older couple, so they were kind of struggling to get out of a seat in the first place. Okay. So before he got up, I said, "There's more. There's more." Okay. Because when the credits started rolling, the two of them clapped, like they applauded because they loved it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So I was like, "There's more to this," and then they started. So he started getting up. I said, "No, there's more. There's more." And they said, "Oh, okay." And they sat. And I was very happy. And then that was over. They waited a little bit long, and then they got up again. I'm like, I didn't want to tell them to sit back down again. Because there's another one at the end of the credits.
Joe Blow asked, dumb question, but does this episode have spoilers? Came late and haven't seen it.
You missed half hour spoilers.
You missed the spoilers, Joe. Don't worry. Here we go. Look, the witch.
Spoiler witch is leaving.
The spoiler witch has left the building. Yeah, we're done. We're done with spoilers. I just want
anybody to know, stay all the way through the literal end credits. There's a scene in the middle, and then there's just a cool thing at the very end. Mm-hmm. So don't walk out. Everybody walked out of the theater. But for the second screen, for the second ending, it was just us and two other people. And the same thing, the first time I saw it, it was us and like maybe 4 or 5 others. Mm-hmm. But the whole theater had emptied out. It was like when we went to go see Grindhouse. Nobody realized it was a second movie.
Yeah.
And half the theater left and missed Death Proof.
Everyone was tired after the first 90-minute film. Lauren said, I kind of love when vampire movies follow those old school stereotypes. That was earlier in the conversation. Yeah. I mean, this definitely follows all those old school vampire stereotypes. So that's a good thing about this movie. It doesn't really deviate too much from like any vampire lore. So it's nothing weird. No big bushy mustaches here, like Nosferatu.
No Nosferatu.
Unfortunately, I know Manny really wanted that.
But there is some vampire river dancing.
Yes. No ding dongs though. No vampire dicks in this movie.
No. But there's a cornbread dick.
Oh yes, there is a dick.
There is.
I'm sure Chris would be quite excited when he. I have to get, since Chris is the Dick Smith.
Yes,
I have to get
he's
his.
The Haunted Hangover Dick Smith.
He's the Haunted Hangover Dick Smith. I have to get his.
Let him know
his letterbox rating of the penis inside. In Sinners. Oh, Chris is gonna. I don't even know if Chris knows about the Dick Smith. Next episode I record with Chris, I'm gonna introduce him as. I called him Big Boy Chris the last episode, so next one would be
Chris Dick Smith.
Chris Dick Smith. He's who we call to clarify if there's a penis in the film or not. Full frontal male nudity.
Joe Bob has Felissa Rose. We got Chris P.
Yes. Krista, she covers mutilated penises. Chris just covers the dick. It just, if there is a penis, he will.
He's all about it. Got it.
He's gonna fucking hate me if he ever listens. This is like the 3rd time we call him the Dick Smith on the show.
Listen. After all this time, if he doesn't hate you by now, well, there's not much you can do.
Nah, everyone loves Louis. All right. Everyone does. Everyone loves me. All right. Let's wrap this up. So final thoughts for real this time, Manny. Anything you want to say to close it out here?
Just see it.
Go
That's
see it.
Just
Seems
go
like
see it.
everyone has seen it, so it's doing well.
And if you want a good laugh, especially if you enjoyed the movie, go to Letterboxd and sort by low ratings, and then look at the people who hated this movie, and you look at them and all I have to say is, I don't think movies are for you.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you get what movies are, because this is a movie. Like this is what films should be. I think this is a film that's going to inspire young people to want to make them. It's one of those movies that people 10, 15 years from now are going to say, I saw Sinners in the theater when I was young and it made me want to make movies.
I agree.
think this is one of them for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's inspiring to see shit like this coming out in the theater in 2025 when we've got I Know What You Did Last Summer 4 coming out in 2 months, and
what, Final Destination 12?
Final Destination 8 next month.
You know?
But yes, go watch Sinner. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, at Haunted Hangover. Head over to hauntedhangover.com where you can find links to everything, including our Patreon page, where you can get early access to episodes and bonus content. Rate and review us. It'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is
More booze.
no little knick-knack, Manny.
Oh, yeah. I'll have that. I got, that's coming next.
Okay. There we go. Anton LaVey. Perfect way to end the episode.
He's not a vampire.
He's not a vampire. He's just a Satan worshiper.
That's it.
Close
That's
enough.
It. The devil. The music has summoned the devil.
There he is. Hail Satan. Later, guys.